The richest people in the world do not always have a big bank account, live in a huge home, drive a fancy car, or even have a lot of possessions. Instead, these people are rich in life by having a loving heart, a generous spirit, helping hands, and inventive mind. They are the people we turn to each day and the ones who teach the next generation what it really means to live a good life. And best of all, they're lucky enough to have found everlasting love. DeWayne and Lola Michaelson were those type of people. They were always there to help a friend or neighbor. They taught their children how to work hard, and they shared their talents each and every day of their lives. Their love never faltered during good times and bad. Despite the fact that they both grew up very poor, they were rich beyond measure. DeWayne was born on October 10, 1928, to James and Minnie Lohr Michaelson. He had two sisters, Shirley, who died as an infant, and Laverne. He attended school in Morris until the 9th grade when he went to work with his dad building roads. Lola was born on November 29, 1927, to Ronald and Cora Wilson Lang. Her family lived in the Donnelly and Alberta area. Lola attended school in Alberta and graduated in 1947. She had 6 siblings: Floyd, Darlene, Mickey, Joyce, Emma, and Harold. In school, her friends called her Peanuts because she was short and quite tiny. After graduating from high school, Lola worked as a waitress at Si's Coffee Cup in Morris. DeWayne eventually enlisted in the service and trained at Camp Rucker in Alabama. On his visits home, he would stop at nearby roller skating rinks where Lola caught his eye. Lola was quite good at skating, participating in several competitions. During this time, Lola was actually engaged to someone else, but DeWayne was persistent and eventually won her heart. The two were virtually inseparable ever since, and Lola taught DeWayne to skate and even dance on roller skates. DeWayne also got into the competitions by swinging a male partner, Harold Anderson, while skating. He would put a wooden match in his mouth, swing Harold, and light the match. This ended badly one night when Harold hit the floor and chipped a tooth. He was fine, but DeWayne and Harold never forgot the episode. Lola was Lutheran and DeWayne was Catholic, which didn't sit well with their parents. However, love took priority, and the couple was married on January 9, 1951. Following their marriage, they lived for 18 months at Camp Rucker and then returned to Morris. DeWayne began a job with the Stevens County Highway Department. One of his most memorable moments was during the severe winter of 1968-1969, when he drove the snowplow in front of an ambulance to Alberta where a woman was in labor. At times, someone walked in front of the plow so he could see where to drive. For a short time, DeWayne and Lola moved to Albert Lea, Minnesota, where DeWayne worked for the city. They did not like being away from friends and family, so returned to Morris. DeWayne started working for the city of Morris, retiring in 1983. Lola also took on work candling eggs until the family grew and she stayed home with the children. The family included 2 boys and 2 girls, Gary, Tim, Julia, and Joy. Her family credited her with being the glue that held the family together, especially during the painful times of losing their son Gary and great-grandson James. Gary was 43, married with 2 children in 1997, when DeWayne and Lola received the terrible news that he was in a fatal snowmobile accident. They not only lost their oldest son, but a business partner in their many side adventures. DeWayne rarely spent an idle moment. While working full-time for the city, he also took on side jobs like tree removal, lawn mowing, snow removal, and stump grinding. He eventually built these into a business called Michaelson Tree Service. His phone would ring steadily with calls for help of all types. Family vacations often centered around places where they could all work on taking down trees and removing stumps. DeWayne also built a log splitter, which he would take on many locations, splitting wood for others and for themselves. The children were encouraged to help in order to keep warm in the winter and be with the family in the summer. A large clam machine was purchased and used for loading logs and junk metal onto trucks, and even came in handy when needed to lift up an airplane when the landing gear failed at the Morris Airport. Another business venture was a car wash purchase from Bud Pudgy Lohr. The children spent many nights washing floors and filling towel machines at the car wash. A new building was erected in 1977. This business is still owned and operated by their son Tim. Between all these other jobs, DeWayne tried to help others in any way he could. There was no job he wouldn't try, such as removing buildings, laying sod, delivering appliances, and recycling junk. He never passed up an empty can, and each piece of metal was considered as potential profit. This was evident when they would load up metal and head to the state fair. The money made from selling the metal was used to camp at the fair. Lola soon became the primary bookkeeper and receptionist for all these ventures. She kept excellent records, answered the phone, and relayed messages. Both boys soon began working in the business, and the couple was able to take a few trips, leaving them in charge. You would think that they would have no time to spare, but DeWayne also volunteered at the Morris Fire Department for 34 years. He owned a race car painted 2 colors and named Half and Half. The car was driven by Darrell Hoyer, and DeWayne helped with the pit crew at many races. The couple was also active in the Assumption Catholic Church, often helping to set up for funerals. As the family grew, the days were filled with school activities and squeezing in as much family time as possible. After seeing their children through school, they especially loved spending time with the grandchildren, who also liked to ride on the mini bikes or the big equipment Grandpa had in the sheds. Family members believed that DeWayne was motivated to work hard because of something a teacher said to him when he was younger. The teacher told him he would never amount to anything, so DeWayne lived his life to prove her wrong. However, he went beyond just amounting to something. He lived his life to help others. He was very proud of what he had built and that the business would continue. In 1985, Lola developed breast cancer and started her first round of chemotherapy. After 7 years, the cancer returned, and despite the fact that she said she would never go through it again, started chemo treatments. The couple began to slow down a bit and enjoy other things like travel, casino visits, playing bingo, and just having coffee with friends. DeWayne often said, "I am part of the space program, just taking up space." Lola battled the cancer for 23 years and died in 2007 at the age of 79. DeWayne was also fighting health issues and had a couple of heart surgeries. 3 years later, DeWayne passed away. According to his daughters, it was not a bad heart, but a broken heart. One of his famous sayings to Lola was, "Get your pants on, we're going." Now they are going together forever. DeWayne and Lola Michaelson were just 2 young kids who didn't have much except love when they met. They lived their lives loving and respecting each other. They didn't need much to keep them happy. They just needed each other. Out of this everlasting love came riches beyond measure that will live on for many generations.